3 simple hybrid tips that will transform your long game. We all have hybrids now, let's get better at them. It's one of my favourite clubs and I reckon you can get better at them. So number 1, ball position. I see people have their hybrid ball position way too far forward, like up in front of their big toe of their lead foot, and then in turn they then have the handle back. This is only going to encourage too much of an upward attack. Too much of an upward attack when the ball is on the floor is not going to help you. It's going to make you hit at the bottom of the club far too often. It'll make you hit tops, it'll make you hit fins, it'll make you hit low shots, and ones that low sometimes rise up with too much spin. Again, they just don't go anywhere. You need to be striking these clubs a little bit more up the face. So let's edge that ball a little bit further back. So for me, I'm playing it anywhere, believe it or not, from the middle of my foot to my lead heel at the most. Like if I wanted it to go higher, I'd play it there. I don't want to play it from there, so I'm going to generally play it kind of 2 to 3 inches inside of lead heel. Now the second point, which is key for this, is making sure that the handle leans at address or in relationship to your grip. So what this means is if I have the handle forwards like this, my hold sees X amount of knuckles. If I then go and push the ball forward and have my hands back, I see more knuckles, so often people weaken their grip. You can see where this is going. One of the most common patterns in golf: weak hold, handle back, ball way too far forward. This is top down. This is literally bottoming out before catching it on the way up, hitting those horrible tops. So make sure the handle is slightly ahead of the head while you take your hold. You can do this up in the air or you can do it down at the ground in gaming position. Just make sure you've got the handle forwards, then take your grip and see your appropriate knuckles. Remember, ball's on the ground. We need to get a little bit of de-loft into this club if we want to strike up it, or we're going to catch a lot out the bottom. So with that very fractional handling, so my handle is basically level with the ball, obviously the head behind the ball, then gripping, ball position in a slightly more neutral place. I'm ready from here to pull the trigger and actually start striking this club, even to the point where you might take a few little divots, scrapes, divots. Any little bit of turf interaction is a good thing. The next point is the lie, how the club sits on the floor. Remember, most hybrids are quite upright, so if you get the handle too low, toe up in the air, we're going to see a few things happening. So lots of people will see this as a wood, you know, the ball way too far forwards and handle back. They're trying to launch it and they got the club way out in front of them. This will start pointing the loft a little bit too far left, and you're going to hit some shots that when you strike them, you think they're good, and they're just going to curve way left. And then the next thing that happens, by putting the toe further in the air, guess what? Ball's on the ground, high as the sweet spot, making it harder to hit it in the middle of the club. You're going to catch it out the bottom again. Fundamental issue with long approach shots, certainly hybrids, is people miss hitting them, and lots of the faults setup wise, so ball position, obviously this lie angle, are just there to encourage setup or encourage strikes, sorry, to become even harder. Let's encourage it to become easier. So let's get the club a little flatter on the floor. You can even play with, I mean, I like students to play with toe up, hit some, see what shots you get. Toe a fraction up, so it should be sitting kind of about there to allow for any kind of toe hang as you come in to hit your shot. So when the shaft moves, it'll put that club back on the ground. So then completely flat on the ground where you stand really tall. This is great for, I use this shot for little hybrids when I want to hit softer ones that might move left to right, round trees. I'm going to use the lie of the club the same way that hopefully lots of you are using the lie of your wedges. The versatility of these soles allows us to try and really work some different lies and shots and twists in. You can do that with your hybrid as well, as long as you're aware of where the lie is. Two toe ended up with clubs with loft, and obviously a hybrid doesn't have the loft that a wedge has, but there's still enough loft on these clubs for people to start missing them a little bit too far left. Let's get that lie worked into your setup. So go for more neutral to slightly taller, get rid of really low, and don't be afraid to even play with those extremities to see what comes in. So for me, the toe is a fraction in the air, making me stand a fraction taller than where I kind of naturally want to slouch down to. This is now going to allow me to control that face delivery, hopefully get the shapes I want, and in turn hit that sweet spot that little bit more. Then the next point, I want you to remember that you are still trying to hit distance with these clubs. So I am still seeing lots of students make kind of 9-iron-y based little chippy kind of swings with clubs with less loft, like a hybrid or any of the lower lofted clubs that you've got. And what happens is if these clubs aren't hit with a certain amount of speed, you're not going to make distance, for one. Two, what will happen is the ball will just fall out of the air. It won't stay in the air long enough. So you do need a certain amount of hit, a certain amount of commitment to make sure this ball does launch. And that's one of the big problems with these clubs. People just can't get them up and staying up. And often it's because the intent is that of kind of like a wedge shot. Now look, I'm a big fan of having a normal speed, a top end speed, and a softer speed with your hybrids. Having a variation of shots is really useful, but having your slower speed as your default is probably not getting the most out of these clubs. So let's still try and make sure we're making a good full turn, a good full committed follow through, and some tips to just try and push that movement on. Let's make sure our width of stance is healthy, that of one that's going to allow us to turn and feel some balance. Let's try and make sure that we are making a full shoulder turn when we're hitting this nearer our top end. So we're trying to send it onto a green or a long par 4. Let's get lead shoulder going under chin and almost like it's going over trail foot. So really get some shoulder turn. We're not just narrowly chipping a little 7-iron or 8-iron forwards. This needs to be hit. Then with our healthy stance, our healthy shoulder turn, let's make sure our trail knee gets the feeling of coming forward and touching lead knee. So we're really committing to getting through and putting some speed into that shot to make sure you're getting the launch and the distance that you deserve and need to make these clubs work. We're definitely rubbish from this kind of area. It's one that really lets us down. And if you want to get better at striking that ball, make sure you check out this video that has all the answer to better strikes and is helping loads of golfers.